Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vishnu Padaya Paramahamsa Parivragacharya Shikara Shada Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Padaya Paramahamsa Parivragacharya Shikara Shada Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. All glories to the assemble of devotees. All glories to the assemble of devotees. All glories to the assemble of devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Vanchakalpalabhyascha kripasindhubhasavacha Vaidam bhavanevi Vaishnavevi namo namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, verses 8 through 9. So we read the Sanskrit. Kamsa Papa Mati Sakyam Tava Chanaka Dundubhe Devakyashtamo Garbho Nastri Bhavitum Arhati Kamshak Papa Matik Sakyam Tava Chanaka Dundubhe Devakyastamo Garbho Nastri Bhavitum Arhati Kamsha Papa Matik Sakyam Tava Chanaka Dundubhe Devakyashtamo Garbho Nastri Bhavitum Arhati Kamsa Papa Matik Sakyam Tava Chanaka Dundubhe Devakyashtamo Garbho Nastri Bhavitum Arhati Papa Matik Sakyam Tava Chanaka Dundubhe Evakyashtamo garbho Nashri arbhavitum arhati Kamsak papamatik sakyam Evachana kandum dubha Evakyashtamo garbho Nastri bhavitum arhati Kamsavapa matik sakyam Avachanaka dunun vehe Evakyastamo garbho Nastri bhavitum arhati. Anyone else?
I guess we all read. Not too many devotees today.
Okay, word by word, translation, transliteration. Kamsaha, King Kamsa, Papamatihi, very, very sinful, having a polluted mind. Sakyam, friendship. Tava, your. Cha, also. Anaka Dundubehe, of Vasudev. Devakyaha, of Devaki. Ashtama Garbhaha, the 8th pregnancy. Na, not. Stri, a woman. Bhavitum arhati, is possible to be. Iti, in this way. Sanchitayan, considering. Shutva, and hearing this news. Devakyaha, of Devaki. Darika Vachaha, the message from the daughter. Api, although there was. Hanta Gata Asankaha, there is a possibility that Kamsa would take steps to kill this child. Tarahi, therefore, Tat, that incident. Naha, for us. Anayach Bhavet, may not be very good. Translation. Kamsa is both a great diplomat and a very sinful man. Therefore, having heard from Yogamaya, the daughter of Devaki, that the child who will kill him has already been born somewhere else, having heard that the 8th pregnancy of Devaki could not bring forth a female child, and having understood your friendship with Vasudev, Kamsa, upon hearing that the purificatory process has been performed by me, the priest of the Yadu dynasty may certainly consider all these points and suspect that Krishna is the son of Devaki and Vasudev. Then he might take steps to kill Krishna. That would be a catastrophe. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Kamsa knew very well the Yogamaya was, after all, the maidservant of Krishna and Vishnu, and that although Yogamaya had appeared as the daughter of Devaki, she might have been forbidden to disclose this fact. Actually, this was what had happened. Garga Muni argued very soberly that his taking part in performing the reformatory process for Krishna would give rise to many doubts, so that Kamsa might take very severe steps to kill that child. Kamsa had already sent many demons to attempt to kill this child, but none of them had survived. If Garga Muni were to perform the purificatory process, Kamsa's suspicion would be fully confirmed. And he would take very severe steps. Garga Muni gave this warning to Nanda Maharaj. Om Gyanati Mandasya Gyananjala Shakala Chakshuntam Gyana Tashmai Shigurve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Shapidam Yana Bhutale Shvayam Rupakadam Vahyam Nadati Svabadandikam. Thank you for allowing me to speak today, and I'm very I was pleasantly surprised when Subal, His Divine, His Grace, Subal called me yesterday, texted me yesterday morning to if I am available to give class, and it was I was still at work and I was trying to make a quick decision, and but I remember also what my Guru Maharaj told me, that sometimes you have to be ready to speak without much preparation, and I still wrote down some points, but please forgive me if I look at my notes too often, as I didn't have a time to give it full consideration of these points. Plus, I feel that I don't know so many details about Krishna's pastimes, and you're more qualified to read and speak these pastimes. We do to lack of realization, basically, and just not reading enough. But thanks to my Guru Maharaj, I am pleasantly forced to do more studying, do more reading, and be on top of it, even on short notice. So I really appreciate it, and hopefully, by your mercy, I get more realization of these pastimes, so I can speak more nicely. So I was reading this verse, and some points came to my mind, not necessarily related directly to the storyline. There's a nice storyline going here. Kamsa is really intent on killing Krishna. He's afraid of his death. And so you all know the storyline. But some points came to my mind, like even materialistic persons and demoniac persons, they're very intelligent. And apparently they may seem to outsmart devotees sometimes, but ultimately devotees are victorious. But that's one point that stuck in my mind, that even materialistic people, they're very intelligent, and they can find ways to try to stop our preaching efforts toward them. So that's one thing. Another point that came to my mind when reading this verse was that devotees faced with calamities, we live in this horrible age of Kali Yuga. There's so many things going on. And from this verse I can see that devotees communicate nicely. They stay together in face of these dangers. They face those dangers of Kali Yuga together. So that's another point. Devotees help each other face these material calamities, dangers. And we conduct our outreach programs, preaching activities wisely and courageously. Another point that came to my mind was that even though we may differ, devotees may differ in their approaches, preaching approach, because we are all different, and that's why we called, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada gave us this name of our movement, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We come from different parts of the world, different cultures, we have different backgrounds, and this will necessarily have influence on our preaching strengths and weaknesses and our approaches. Also, we are thrown in different situations here and there. Some devotees live at the temple, some devotees live far away from the temple. Therefore, we are, I see our movement as, we are like international guards of auspiciousness, guardians of spirituality on the face of the world. And although we differ in many ways, we, at the end of our preaching campaign, at the end of our preaching efforts, we get together, we share the experiences, we learn from one another, and we move on to another preaching project. So these are some of the points that came to my mind as I was reading it. Not directly related to the verse, but somehow I just felt like I might do a little better job speaking about this and elaborating on some of these points, since you all know Krishna stories and storyline. I'd like to elaborate more and give some examples and from my experience, how devotees help each other out, beyond the temple experience. Many devotees live outside the temple, and also on how to wisely approach materialistic people. They may be very intelligent and they may try to be antagonistic. So it is a few things from my experience about how to approach them, so we don't want to offend them. They don't want to offend us. We don't want to create a situation where they're forced to offend us, nor do we want to offend them, because then they will not be able to take any insight or take anything from us that we want to share with them. So these are 2 points that I'd like to elaborate on today. I remember in the beginning of my Krishna consciousness, I had this one friend who understood that I wouldn't be able to live at the temple for at least in the beginning, and I was just starting to practice Krishna consciousness. And he would reach out to me and ask me if I need anything. Like, sometimes I'll say, oh, you know what, my computer is not working, and I knew he had some experience in IT and computer work. I'm not really good at technology. So I told him, yes, my computer is not working, nicely, and I wanted to write something for school, whatever. So he was very practical, and he would reach out to me like that and help me in things that are not directly related to Krishna consciousness. And this way we created some friendship over the years. I even remember what kind of software he installed on my computer so many years after. So I was able to use my computer more efficiently and even write some, reports on psychology or whatever I was studying at that time. So that was a nice example of how he would help me in some simple things. And then on another occasion he called me up and said, Bhaktarg, this one devotee, congregational member, he's not doing well. He actually ended up in a hospital, and he's fighting for his life, and hopefully we get him back. Would you like to go with me? Would you like to go with me to the hospital to visit him? See some devotees will come, and even if it's 2 of us, we go. Maybe more devotees will come. So I was like doing something at that time. I was doing some homework, or I don't know what I was doing, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, whoa. And this hospital was kind of far away. Maybe it was St. Francis Hospital. But no, I don't remember. It was many years ago. So anyway, since I was raised in a Catholic Orthodox Catholic tradition, I appreciate what he said, because one of the church commandments that we learned about was to visit the sickly people, ill people, and visit them and give them comfort, make sure they feel like they're part of the community. That, you know, so that was one of the Christian commandments. They're not one of the 10 commandments, but there are like 5 other church commandments. So I felt, you know what, I'll go with you. Let me just work it out with my parents, because I lived with my parents at that time. So we went to that hospital, and we visited that friend, the devotee, congregational member of our temple, and he was surprised. He was happy, and you know, we did some chanting, we talked. You know, it was a good experience. It was a very good experience. I think we might have taken some prasadam to him, because the rules were pretty strict at the hospital. We could not bring any food, maybe, but they allowed something simple. So there was another example. Another example in which I felt like, you know, beyond the temple experience, I was able to get help, and I saw how other devotees help one another beyond the temple in real life situation where Kali Yuga is raging out there, and as soon as you leave this temple door, it's quite a different experience, quite a different, it's a battlefield. So I really appreciated what happened in those early years. I get a good sense of what it feels like to be, you know, in a family. You know, it doesn't matter where you're at, the devotees will reach out to you. And these days, I think very fondly of this friend. He's not doing very well himself, health-wise, and my brother Govinda and I, we have our own fitness facility that we opened, and we invite him to come and improve his health, so we can guide him personally how to get his health back, so he can practice Krishna consciousness strongly. So this is point number 1 that I'd like to talk about, how devotees face the calamities of Kali Yuga together, help each other out beyond the temple experience. And point number 2, we interact with other people outside. Many of them are officially not devotees, some of them are very materialistic, some of them are demoniac. So we have to handle such interactions in the right manner. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't want to offend them, put ourselves in a situation where they will offend us. How to approach them so they'll be encouraged to inquire about spiritual subject matters and come closer to their original spiritual potential. And there are not too many choices we have. We are in Kali Yuga. You know, we can go into the mountains. We can stay in our communities, strictly devotee communities, and that is acceptable. That is good. However, the mood of Srila Prabhupada, the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Lord Chaitanya is that we should actually get strong, practice our devotional service within the community, but then we should come out and reach out to other people. This will be we'll be more aligned with the spirit of Lord Chaitanya. And there's a nice simile in this connection about salt. And I think Srila Prabhupada used it too, and I think in the Christian tradition it's very prevalent. This example is used by Lord Jesus Christ. He used to inspire his disciples to be like salt, that flavors the food. Jesus Christ would inspire his disciples to say, you know, go out and be like the salt of the earth. And if you lose this spirit of preaching, if you don't want to go out and preach, the face of the earth will have no salt, you know. It's like the food has no salt. How can you make it salty if the salt is lost its saltiness? Another example was the chili that Srila Prabhupada used too. Like chili peppers was the quality of chili peppers. You know, they're very spicy, and if they're not spicy, you cannot even call them chili peppers. It must be something else. So the idea is to keep this spirit of reaching out to others, this spirit of urgency. It is a very urgent situation. You know, time is running out. The golden age is unfolding, but we want to participate in this golden age that Sri Chaitanya inaugurated. And if you maintain the spirit of urgency, that it's a very tough situation for the people outside. They need our help, whether they realize it or not. Most of them do not realize it. We keep this sense of urgency. We come out and approach them. Otherwise, you know, our movement may just maintain or comes to a halt. There's not much growth. So that's this point that I'd like to make here. And we all have our creative ideas. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 8, very nice, inspiring verse, at least to me, that he is the, what's the verse here? As you can see, I'm not very good with verses, but at least I know exactly which chapter. So Krishna says, Rashoham apshukamteya prabhashmi sasi suryayaho pranavak sarva vedeshu sabdake purusham nashu. Chapter 7, verse 8, he says, O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon. I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, and I am the sound and ether and ability and man. So Krishna is the ability. And also another verse, I believe it's verse where is this verse? Right next to it, verse 10. He says, I'll just read the English translation. O son of Partha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent and the prowess of all powerful men. So Krishna will give us intelligence in different ways, and the ability we appreciate is in this light, and push forward our preaching efforts in different ways. I remember my Guru Maharaj would underscore this very important point to finish. In order for us to go out there and face the material energy, we need to be strong ourselves by finishing the morning program and putting on that spiritual armor, and be more capable of facing the material energy. So we will not be discouraged or thwarted in our efforts, and our spiritual life will not come to a halt just because we were distracted in some ways by material energy. So my Guru Maharaj would underscore this point of finishing 16 rounds early in the morning. And he would say that, says that, you know, that will give us a very clear intelligence to neutralize the materialistic energies and energies of materialistic individuals for the rest of the day. Then we'll be able to relate to others properly and choose the wisest or the smartest preaching method at that time. It may not be necessarily the best preaching method in general, but for that situation, it may be the best preaching method and the best approach to mention something about Krishna, about spiritual life, to give a book, to give some prasadam. My brother and I, my brother Govinda and I, we call chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we call it the potion of ability. We drink the potion in the morning, and then everything else comes later throughout the day. So this is the ideal situation.
we may not always make it in the morning with all the rounds, but this actually helps so much in relating to others and giving them the right energy as they relate to us. If we don't give them the positive energy from our morning program, they will give us their energy and it will affect us, and we will have some of their consciousness. We imbibe some of their consciousness, and we don't want that to happen. So this is the point about reaching out to others in different ways and not being distracted by them. Maintaining the preaching spirit and by completing our morning program, being able to face any material obstacles. And the last point I'd like to mention, I don't know how we're doing on time. Is it 10 minutes after? Can you see? Oh, there it is. Oh, 10 minutes, wow. Like I was saying earlier, many materialistic people are very intelligent. They may apparently be more intelligent than us in different ways. We may have the spiritual intelligence to conduct our spiritual life and sufficient intelligence to run our material departments when we are outside of the temple. However, sometimes we give credit to the materialistic people, make them happy. They're actually very smart in different ways. And they may use these qualities of their intelligence, like Kamsa was very intelligently trying to pick the best demons to kill Krishna. He was trying to destroy Krishna's mission. And he was no wonder very intelligent and very powerful, but he could not win. But still you can see from the verse that the devotees were communicating, helping each other out, and trying to come up with a good strategy how to protect Krishna, how to move on with their lives, so the materialistic demons, will not threaten Krishna and will not inhibit their work. So from my experience, I see like there are three different approaches, or three different reactions that materialistic people can have when they see that we're trying to distribute some books, or we're trying to give some prasadam, or just talking on spiritual subject matters in general. They can try to change the subject, or they can try to directly oppose us and say something not very pleasant. So that's option A. They can be very antagonistic. They may give us a condition. They will say, you can leave your books here in this building, but you have to take my products and do such and such. They can give us some conditions. Okay, you can do this, but I'd like you to do this for me. So that's another reaction that I faced in my little meager preaching efforts. And another reaction that I've come across with was that they allow you to leave the books just allow you to leave the books, but they may watch you and give you a recall. Anytime they find some fault, they will get upset quickly and let you, and they will ask you to, since they own the building or they're in charge, they may ask you to take the books with you and go back to where you came from. So it happened to, so the three different reactions. They may give us some condition to fulfill in exchange for our leaving the books there for our service, and they may be directly antagonistic, or they may just let us do our thing, and when they see some fault, they will say, no more, that's it, and then they ask us out. Sometimes we do have a very, I don't want to say superior, but very complete philosophy that can find the answers to any dilemmas that materialistic people may have. The problem is they may not be able to hear what the solutions are because they're not ready for it. So my point is that we do not necessarily want to preach to them very directly. Sometimes when they're antagonistic, obviously, I remember reading this one book by one of our best Sankirtan leaders or book distributors, Vaisheshika Prabhu, and he visited our temple like over a year ago, I think, sometime last year. And so I read his book, and then one of the very important, very interesting points was that sometimes it is just good to we're talking about the option A, where the materialistic people are very antagonistic to us. Sometimes it's very good to fold our hands and say, you know, we very much appreciate your time. We really, it's a big deal for us that you at least allowed us to ask you and speak a little bit, and thank you for your time. That will not aggravate those materialistic people, and in due course of time they may come back. Like Vaisheshika Prabhu was giving this example that they were very much against any Eastern tradition or something to that effect, and then he just said, thank you so much for listening to me for 1 minute, and God bless you, or something like that, and he went away. A little did he know that later on those people asked other devotees about Vaisheshika Prabhu. They asked him, who's this devotee? I would like to contact him. He was so nice. He was so nice, even though we inadvertently offended him. We said, we're not very interested from the Eastern knowledge. It's not good. Or we're following this, or you know, we're not interested completely. So they were touched by his meek spirit. You know, sometimes it pays off, for lack of a better word, pays off to be not be very argumentative or philosophical. Just be very meek and humble, and the materialistic people will see that you're not trying to endanger their comfort zone. And they appreciate that, and they will have a change of heart at one level, and they will be interested before you know, oh, you know what, I like to read more and see what this person has got to say about his way of life. So that's option A. When someone's directly antagonistic, sometimes it really is good to not argue and just take a step back. Option B, there's some conditions that they may give us. They will give you their books or their business cards. You know, I had some different movements, you know, Christian Scientists and that, and you know, they will give you their literatures. You give them your literature, and then there's some exchange. Sometimes I will read the literature and see what they've got. You know, sometimes they would even maybe call them and get together with them. You know, they may be spiritual at one level, and sometimes they may have some other philosophy that's not really spiritual, but they will give you some materials, and you can quickly look it over and maybe try to understand a little bit. So you can call them up, you know, and have a meeting with them later. It's like, oh, I really like your philosophy. It really makes sense, and let's talk about it. And maybe they will be able to meet with you, and then there may be some exchange, and in a way they will benefit. And obviously, as a side note, you have to be strong enough not to be, by reading their philosophy, their books, we may not be diverted or distracted from our own philosophy and practice. Option C, some materialistic people may test you out and try to allow you what to do. You know, just leave your books here and then see what happens. I one time had a very bad experience. I went to some private school. I went actually to like a martial arts school, and you know me by now. You know I'm in the fitness industry, and I did some martial arts. But anyway, I thought it would be a good idea to leave some Bhagavad Gitas in different martial arts schools, and I would go to different schools, private schools, and ask the master, whoever that person was, listen, I got some books on martial arts and the philosophical aspect of martial arts. Do you mind if I leave them here? You know, I brought some, you know, some books also that are used for bridge preaching, you know, they're written by devotees who preach in different communities. So I brought quite a few books then, and I picked Bhagavad Gita and this book, and I said, you know, I'll leave this book here if you don't mind. You know, I do martial arts too. You know, I do this, but you know, I really like this. I think it helped me out in my martial arts. Do you mind if I leave this book? So he says, oh yeah, great, great. He looked at it and, oh, okay, looks good. Okay, leave them here. So I made a mistake after that. I didn't leave his place. I stayed there and waited for his customers to come in, and or his students, I don't know. So there was a walk-in. We call it a walk-in. You know, someone comes from. So obviously, I didn't know his school. I didn't know if it was a walk-in or it was his regular students. I don't know. It was like in the afternoon, business hours. So they came in, and before they could get to his desk, you know, I intercepted them and I said, hey, how are you? You know, I brought these books here and I left them over here. Would you like to read them? You know, they're very good for your spirit. You know, if you do martial arts, it's very good for you. So the master saw what I did, and he jumped up in his chair and came up to me and he said, what do you think you're doing? You know, these are my people here. You don't want to take away business from me. And he actually admonished me like strongly. Listen, I don't know what you're doing, but you take your books with you and get out of here. You know. So I said, I apologize. You know, I'll take the books, and thanks for your time. Sorry that happened. I didn't mean to distract your students. I just wanted to share this. But I said, no, you take your books. I don't want to see you anymore. And so it felt bad, and I was shocked. So I took the books and I left. But what I should have done, I should have just left the books there and just left and maybe come back in a week, see what happened. So I talked to my friends, my devotee friends about this, and actually I might have talked to the friend who fixed my computer, to the friend who came with me to the hospital to visit another devotee. Maybe I shared with him. I'm not sure who I shared this with. But I told him, listen, this is what happened, and I feel bad. I don't know what kind of mercy I'm getting here. I feel you know, I didn't have the power to do any preaching. But he said, don't worry, you made an effort and you learned by experience. You know, you will not make this. You be very cautious before you take this step again. Sometimes it's better to go slower in smaller installments when you're preaching efforts. So he gave me some consolation, and I really appreciated that. So obviously I was discouraged still a little bit, so I stopped my preaching for a little bit, and I just chanted and came to the temple, and I didn't do any book distribution for a while, but then I started again some years later. So this was this taught me that we have to be very cautious, because people are you know, very intelligent. They're very much into the modes of nature as well, like Rajaguna and Tamaguna, and they may have some quick reaction that we don't deserve, but you know, it happens. You know, I was not thrilled with that, but it's a learning experience. So this is the point I wanted to make about how to improve our approaches and be very cautious about approaching materialistic people in our preaching efforts. In conclusion, I would like to say that ISKCON devotees might work very cautiously. We have to work very cautiously and intelligently as well-wishers of the whole human race. The approaches may be different, and even sometimes we have to face the demonic individuals. Somehow we still have to come up with good solutions, good approaches and strategies to expand our movement farther and farther into this golden age. And new ideas and how to practically implement them will come. no doubt, with our sincere efforts and our sincere practice of chanting Hare Krishna in the morning and doing the morning program, as we read in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will give us the ability, and He will give us the strength and intelligence to come up with the proper, appropriate preaching solutions for different types of audience. It cannot really, by chanting Hare Krishna in the morning, I mean, everything comes. My Guru Maharaj would say that everything is in the name of Krishna. Everything is there. You don't even have to think about other things. Just focus on the name. And you focus on the name later on, during the day, the ideas, energy will come to unfold to approach people, to relate to others. It cannot really get any simpler than that. And such is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. He could have not done it any simpler for us in this age of Kali Yuga. Thank you very much for your attention. I apologize for a lack of flow and reading from my sheet over here. Yeah, thank you, and once again, I apologize for my shortcomings, and thank you for letting me speak. Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu.
Very wonderful class.
Oh.
I really love hearing devotees, because a lot of times we kind of mechanically hear classes. I love all the classes, but it's nice to hear devotees' personal experiences and how they try to apply the philosophy, or either in success or failure. And that's very more inspiring than, hearing just the stories, because we can't relate to that. We weren't associating with those personalities, but we are associating with modern day personality, and it's very inspiring to hear your stories, especially the karate story. I love the dojo.
I'm not going to that school again.
So I have a comment related to that, but I kind of want to relate it to what you initially said. Your whole class, you made so many wonderful points, but you mentioned that you had a friend who asked you to come to the hospital, and you said somehow or other you created a friendship with him. And this verse actually mentions the word sakyam, friendship, and we see that friendship is easy to maintain. Like Devaki, I guess this verse mentions that the reason Devaki broke off her relationship with Kamsa is because he heard an omen, etc. So my favorite pastime regarding relationships is chapter 89 of Krishna book, where it describes how to maintain your relationships. It describes Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. It's a long story, but basically Brahma's the creator, Shiva's the destroyer, right, and Vishnu's the maintainer. And in this pastime, it describes that we should follow the example of Vishnu, because he teaches us how to maintain our relationships and peace of mind ultimately, because we see that creating relationships, easy. Destroying relationships, even easier. Yes. Maintaining them, that's the hard part. Wow. And so there's one quote by Benjamin Franklin, you could apply it to all relationships. He says, it takes many good deeds to build a good reputation, and only one bad deed to ruin it. But you could apply that quote to relationships. It takes many agreements to build a good relationship, and only one disagreement to ruin it.
That's so true. Exactly. That's so true, Prabhu. Wow.
And so my question is kind of related to the point you said, how devotees are so helping and loving and they're uplifting. But usually when we hear the word help, I think Subal was mentioned the other day in class, that sometimes we have a preconceived notion of what something looks like. Like sometimes we have a preconceived notion of what devotees helping us looks like. Right. A lot of times we don't consider devotees who criticize us, either constructive criticism or destructive criticism. We don't see that as a type of help, but we hear that these qualities like humility, tolerance, forgiveness, appreciation, these qualities, one thing I try to keep in mind and maintain my own peace of mind is that these qualities we see logically, they're only meant to be used when things don't go our way.
I like it. I like it.
You would never, one example I tell devotees that you would never, a rich kid would never go up to his rich father and tell his father, my dear father, I forgive you for giving me a Mercedes-Benz for my birthday. I'll tolerate the $1 million inheritance once I graduate from high school, etc. So these qualities, actually devotees, it seems like gives us devotees who criticize us, whether constructive or destructive, give us more opportunity to advance in Christian consciousness than people are always pumping up our false ego. So that's one thing we can't appreciate. One thing maybe you could comment on it, but my last comment is related to the dojo incident, and maybe you could elaborate on that. You said when this guy criticized you for preaching to his students, and you said in one sense he destroys your enthusiasm. Relationships are easy to destroy, enthusiasm easy to destroy. When we're honored, we're enthusiasm. When we're dishonored, we're unenthusiastic. And you say you didn't preach Christian consciousness. So my question is related to the first point, is that when we associate with devotees and we have this conception of what help looks like, and when we don't get that conception of what help looks like, we don't preach Christian consciousness, we preach slander consciousness. This is not a devotee. Let me tell you what they did. Actually, they were helping you. So what are some steps we can move forward to reprogram our brains to appreciate what real help looks like? There's so many avenue helps, but maybe you could, maybe from your experiences, maybe you could share some experience where you got some help, but it didn't look like help.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I have a little realization about this, but well, my Guru Maharaj said that in one of his newsletters that mercy, the mercy comes from the front, from the side, and from behind. So we have to keep our eyes open and make sure we don't miss the opportunity for growth. When the mercy seems like it's hard to perceive that mercy because I just got kicked and my ego got smashed, and it's not natural to perceive us, especially if you're conditioned, speaking for myself, but so it's so hard to perceive it as mercy, like, she said this, and he said this. What's wrong with that? I'm doing my rounds, I'm doing this. Well, why should they say it to me? I'm doing all I can. But there's still, some comments will come and it'll hurt like needles. And it can happen at work, and it can happen at home, it can happen anywhere. But like you said, we can take shelter of those qualities that they may not be so easily noticeable when you preach. You want to be stronger and very stronger and very convincing and bold, even sometimes. But when things don't go our way, we have to take shelter of those qualities. The problem is, if we lack them, like I speak for myself, if you lack those qualities, you don't have those qualities to fall on. You're just like thinking, oh wow, well, I was doing great service, and here I guess Krishna doesn't want me to do this service. Let me go back to where I was before. We get discouraged. So I would say that we just have to focus on sincere chanting and developing those qualities that will also be very useful in our preaching. Having a meek spirit and being humble and giving credit to those who are materialists. Giving them credit and saying good things about them. You can praise them for something. Oh, you're great. Your accounting skills are great. You're a great martial artist. Man, I don't even have a black belt, and you got 5th degree here. And well, but I like this book, and if you think you can get something from it, I would appreciate it. It's just a matter of developing those qualities, and the qualities will come with sincere chanting, offenseless chanting. Even our attempt to chant offenselessly is considered good chanting. If you're trying to pay attention and be attentive, that's a bona fide chanting. You're trying, you're catching yourself every minute, but you're trying. So that's very good. That's considered inoffensive chanting, while you're struggling with the mind, and you know where you're going, but it's hard for you to get there. So sincere chanting will ensure that we get those qualities, and then we can fall back on them when things don't go our way. So that is my realization, because I need those qualities, and trying to focus on them these days, to be more humble and just be more meek in spirit. And that's not how I was raised. I was raised in more like fearful, competitive environment, and you have to fight and you have to face and break, you know. And so I was conditioned differently, so it's hard for me to transition to those qualities. But I think they're very useful and necessary as much as the other qualities, like courage and determination. Sure. Thank you for a very nice question. Very nice events that you described, incidents. I really appreciate it. It's getting a little late. If you have any questions? Any more questions?
Thank you, Yunacharya Prabhuji.
Sure.
I appreciate some of the points that you brought that came out to you as you read the verses. One that is stuck pretty much is to act, how the devotees act very cautiously, and taking into consideration how demoniac people are so keen to actually disrupt Krishna, or the progress of Krishna consciousness. So, and how devotees help each other in the process of being very cautious and protective of Krishna. And we see in this, in the narration, how Garga Muni was immediately very aware and cautious of Kansa's, ways, and immediately he recommended to act very cautiously to Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj was taken by the happiness of celebrating his two children.
Right.
But Garga Muni brought the cautiousness that, Kansa is very, very sinful. So if he gets to hear this, he immediately going to trying to harm Krishna.
Yes.
So devotees act very cautiously, and that's a very important point, that we have to use common sense. And if the demons persist, and in general sometimes you see the situations that there are certain type of demons that are very persistent.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And very focused on disrupting Krishna, and then Krishna comes and takes care of them. And
He will come.
yeah, reminds me of, we're listening to Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, how in Prabhupada's struggles to establish the Mumbai center, the Mumbai temple in Juhu, there was this land owner who was selling the piece of land, the Hare Krishna land, to Srila Prabhupada, but he was a very demoniac person. And tried to cheat Prabhupada in so many ways, but Prabhupada was always, one step ahead. But this person became so vicious that he started to, when Prabhupada was outsmarting him, because he was taking advantage of the young devotees, but when Prabhupada would come in the picture, Prabhupada would completely outsmart him. He started to become aggressive, so he was going to actually aggressively attack the deities. When he threatened Srila Prabhupada that he will actually dismantle the whole temple and throw the deities out.
Wow.
Then next day the guy died of a heart attack.
Oh, Jai Krishna. Krishna got him.
Yes. So because he insulted and he basically, and he was threatened Srila Prabhupada that
Yes.
he would do this. And, you know, that was now on Krishna's space.
Yes.
Krishna came and destroyed, and Srila Prabhupada actually, when he heard next day that this man has died, then Prabhupada was silent for a moment, and then he says, he quoted the verse in which that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta quotes, that a saintly person becomes joyful when a snake or a scorpion is killed.
Wow. Wow, I don't remember that.
That demon got branded, and he was taken care by Krishna himself. You know, Lord Nrsingadev just tore his heart apart. He died of a big heart attack.
Yes. Wow. I think I might have. I remember reading that some long time ago. It's very, very good example of how Krishna handles the bigger demons that are very disruptive. Wow, it's very nice. I think Srila Prabhupada might have actually asked the devotees to take good care of the wife of the demoniac person. Like
eventually, yes, and the wife.
So it was very nice of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah,
like,
the wife
like,
tended to be, you know, like a bit also continue the demoniac means, and she organized an attack for the temple too. But Prabhupada was very kind to her. And
exactly.
She got saved because she came to her senses.
Yes. Wow, there's a great story there. There's a great story. It's a very hard, you know, it gives you courage to keep going. You know, Krishna will allow us to, you know, do our program. You know, as long as we're sincere, and He will take care of us at whatever level of preaching we're doing. You know, He'll take care of us somehow. Wow, it's a great example. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I think it's getting very late. Any questions? More questions? Thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha vacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.